Oh, hi. I'm Adam. I'll be your host today. First thing I want to talk about are laws. Super fun. Spain is a very bureaucratic country. Has its pros and cons, right? We like the law. That means we can figure out smart, intelligent ways to use it to our advantage. In the past, you had to be on a student visa for a minimum of 3 years. Uno, dos, tres. After 3 years, you could convert it to a work permit to stay in Spain long term. You could then get a job or be self-employed. Guess what? Now there's no minimum. Pretty amazing, right? We're gonna flirt with that concept and see just how little time we need to study before we can potentially change to a work permit. So, very few lawyers specialize in this because there's not a lot of money for them. So it's a little bit hard to find. If you stay till the end of this video, we have some top secret information that we learned from some lawyers that you will love to know, and you're not gonna find anywhere else, not unless you wanna pay a bunch of money to go from a student visa to a work permit. Most lawyers focus more on golden visas or the non-lucrative visa. And then there is the new digital nomad visa as well. We're gonna focus more on going from a student visa to a self-employed work permit is what we wanna do, and that's our goal. So, new law changes. Makes it way better, way easier potentially for everybody. We're gonna be guinea pigs and do it and see if we make it work, and then you can do it. Right away, one of the things that you're gonna notice is that this is a confusing process, maybe a little bit complicated process. Stay positive, keep your eye on the prize. As a US citizen, if you're gonna stay in Spain for longer than 6 months, you need to get an FBI background check. Sounds easy, right? Well, the background check itself isn't too hard. You gotta get your fingerprints done, then you gotta send them in. It's a little bit confusing to do it, to get your fingerprints done. Not every place you can do it. For example, in the great state of Minnesota, I think there's only one post office that you can get it done in downtown Minneapolis. So that's where we had to go. Yeah, the next nearest place would have been in Iowa. And then you send those in to get your FBI background check. That's just the beginning. The fun really begins when you have to get this document apostille. It's a word that nobody knows how to pronounce correctly. And it's a special stamp, a special seal that you have to get. Once again, get it from the state of Minnesota, easy. Get it from your local, your state, probably not gonna be too hard, but that's not good enough for Spain. It has to be from the federal government. And the federal government takes about 11 weeks to get that to. There are no appointments, you cannot walk in. We are paying a company to help us with this. That should hopefully cut the time in half to about 5 to 6 weeks, and it cost us about $150, I think, for the two of us to get it done. But in your timeline of doing all these things, that is the thing you should get right away. Check off your list. Get that document, get your background check apostilled, and get it ready to go, okay? Because without that, you're not going anywhere. Children under 18 do not need to have it, but Sofya and I are both just a little bit over 18. Sofya's much older than I am in that regard, but you need to have it. Another really important thing when you go to become a student, right? We're going as a tourist, then we're gonna become students, then we're gonna become self-employed, hopefully on the pathway to permanent residence and citizenship eventually. The school that you're gonna study at is very important. Probably you're not going to go get your master's degree or PhD or a bachelor's degree. The quickest way, you're probably gonna go study Spanish, which you should, because you want to be able to speak the local language, you want to know about the culture, you want to meet new friends. It's a great entrance into your new life in Spain to come as a student. You come on these other visas, you're in your own little bubble. You have to make sure the school you are going to study at is accredited by the Spanish Ministry of Education. If they are not, this won't work. So make sure they are accredited from the Spanish Ministry of Education in order for you to get a student visa and then change it to a work permit later on, okay? Very important. A little caveat for when you come on a student visa and you just study Spanish. You have to jump through one extra little hoop in order to start working. So why is it advantageous to come on a student visa? Well, unlike the golden visa or the non-lucrative visa, those visas you can't work. You cannot legally work in Spain on those visas. But on a student visa, you can legally work now. And that law actually changed recently. It was 20 hours, now you can work 30 hours a week. And I'll talk a little bit more in this video about why that's super important and super advantageous when you try to start your own company. Stay tuned. Click like and follow too. What we were told by some lawyers is that if you come just to study Spanish, you have to do one extra little thing to get permission to work, but it's not difficult and it's not hard. So keep that in mind. super advantageous, very good thing. Student visa, you can work. There's a little bit of a gray area with some of this stuff too, and I find myself often living my life in the gray area. So working remotely, once again, you come on a non-lucrative visa. I'm not sure about the golden visa actually, but it's problematic, and with taxes and all that kind of stuff, and even legally if you can. I think you could still even work remotely. Now you might not want to advertise that, wear a shirt that say I work remotely from Spain, but as a student I think you have some advantages tax-wise as well. Very important you look into your own tax situation and finances and how that will impact your transition to living in Spain. Why go this route? Why should you go from a student visa to living long-term in Spain? Well, there's a couple of reasons why you should think about this. Number one, you can work part-time, like I was just talking about. One of the pieces of advice that one of the lawyers gave us was you should start working on a student visa, and you should start running your business that you're going to start when you apply for a work permit. So on a student visa, I can legally work. All of the things we're planning on doing, we could do part-time as students. So you're on a student visa, you can legally work, and you can legally then start your business you're planning on applying for and transitioning to as a student. The lawyers that we talked to, the one law firm that actually knows about these law changes that I could find, and I reached out to several, gave us this advice. So if you can find a way to start what you're eventually going to be doing as your self-employed business while you're on your student visa, it'll look great to the immigration office. You already have it up and running a little bit. You can already show what you're doing. You know, you can get a lot of the things done before you even apply for your self-employed work permit. So keep that in mind. That was the advice we were given, and that's what we're going to actually try to do. It will be a smoother transition to a work permit if you start your self-employed business as a student. I don't think this information is out there anywhere on the internet. You're only going to hear it here, or unless you pay a lawyer, but we're free. Why else do you want to go this route? Well, it's the cheapest option. Let's be real here. We don't have a lot of money. We're on a very tight budget. Many people who move to Spain from around the world are in a different income bracket than we are, and maybe you are yourself. I think Spain wants all kinds of professionals and people from different backgrounds who can help make their country an even better place. So you don't have to be super rich to pull this off. The golden visa, as you know, right? You got to go spend 500,000 euros on a property minimum. A non-lucrative visa, the retirement visa, right? Guess what? You can't work, but you have to show that you have passive income, retirement income, real estate that can support you indefinitely. But you might be aware of this. You can potentially go from a non-lucrative visa to a work permit visa as well. That's probably the second pathway that many people do. But you have to have passive income. You have to have a lot more money, hundreds plus $1,000 that you can show are coming in or are saved in order to go that route. So it's way more expensive, but you can do it. After 1 year, we were told on a non-lucrative visa, you can change it to a work permit. But we don't want to go that route. We want to do it from a student visa. So basically you have to, no matter how you do it when you move, you have to show you have enough money to support yourself and each, other person dependent that will be coming with. It's about 700 euros a month per person, and it might, I think with children, and maybe it's cut in half, but you can find that information online. 4 to 5 months, language school, couple $1,000, you've started the process. If you go the other route, not the self-employed, to get a job, it would probably be easier, and you wouldn't have to show a lot of this other financial stuff, income requirements to start your business. One thing to keep in mind, especially if you're coming from the US, the salaries in Europe, especially Southern Europe, are nothing like you're going to find here in the United States. You need to understand that. You need to be financially independent as much as you can. And if you're going to go there to try to get rich, it's probably not going to happen. And it's for surely, you can prove me wrong, not going to happen if you just go get a job over there. Might happen if you start your own business, but your salaries in Spain are going to be probably 25% of what they are in the US. Maybe half if you're lucky. That's for 90% of professions from what I know. Okay, so keep that in mind. Now, I think it's worth it no matter what still, because the quality of life. What have we learned so far? We've learned it's the cheapest option. We've learned that you can work on a student visa right away. You can't on the other ones. Cheap, you can work, you can make income, and potentially it's the fastest option as well. And it's the most affordable, like we learned, because these other visas cost, hundreds and hundreds of thousands of euros to do. Because there's no minimum, we are going to study for 5 months. And then our goal is to then, after 5 months, switch it to a self-employed work permit. If we could pull it off, that means within, half a year, we are now have work permits and are self-employed in Spain. If that goes well, in 5 years, we are permanent residents. And at that point, you don't have to prove a lot, all this kind of stuff and keep applying. And then at 10 years, you could, in theory, become a citizen. There's some fun, interesting things with that process too, but we'll save that for another day. Super important to understand as well that if you do not go this route, if you do not go on a student visa or a non-lucrative visa and after a year try to switch it as a US citizen, unless you are in a super highly skilled type of a job, and if you are, congratulations, and you're probably making lots of money, so this video isn't great for you anyways, you are not going to get a job in Spain. I repeat, you are not going to get a job in Spain. I wish you luck if you can. But I don't think you're going to find a job in Spain. Why? Spain is part of the European Union. They have agreements. They have all these things. They have all these hoops you have to jump through. If you, hey, I'm just going to apply to all these companies to get a job in Spain, you're probably not going to get a job. Like, I guarantee you're not going to get a job because they have to follow certain rules and regulations and hire people from the European Union before they're going to hire me as a US citizen. I'm not complaining about that. I get it. No problem. We want to do this lawfully. We want to do it legally. We want to immigrate to Spain the right way. Just like we want people who immigrate to the United States to do it the right way. So really the only way you're going to get in the door, right, and have a shot at staying is through one of these things that I've talked about. Golden visa, non-lucrative visa, digital nomad visa, or the best way, the student visa. Once you have studied for a few months, guess what? All these companies that before wouldn't give you a job, they don't have to follow all those rules anymore. They don't have to jump through those really big hoops to give all the people in the European Union a job before you. Now they can give you a job, okay? So now you can work and live in Spain. Just remember, your salary is going to be way down here. Still worth it. What are some potential problems we might have? One of them is our timeline. So we're hoping, like I said, to do a 4 to 5 month study and then switch over. Well, you never know when you immigrate, right? That timeline might get screwed up. Bureaucracy might get in the way. Many things could happen. So you just got to be patient. Hopefully we can do it as fast as we're trying to, but that's one of the potential problems is you never really know what's going to happen when you're immigrating. And if you were to go on a golden visa, right, or a non-lucrative visa, it's a little bit more guaranteed once you get it that you're going to be there long term. Student visa is a little bit riskier because you have to transition to different visas after that. We're going to pay lawyers to help us with this so we have our best chance at succeeding. And we found that to help with a self-employed work permit to do the second part of our goal, it costs anywhere from 1,500 euros minimum probably. There's so many pros to doing a student visa and then a work permit to staying in Spain long term. You can turn your dreams into reality. You really can. And you can learn Spanish. You can learn about the culture you're going to be living in, and you can make friends in the process. I think this is the best way to do it. But the potential negatives, like you might get denied, right? We might go through all this and they might say, hey, Adam and Sophie, sorry, we think your business idea is dumb. Hasta la vista, baby. That could happen, but guess what? If you don't risk it, if you don't try, you never know. Aim big and you might just pull it off. Some people might not want to study. Personally, I'm going to say this again. Do it. You need to learn Spanish anyways. If you're a native Spanish speaker, okay, I understand. You probably don't need to. But if you're not, this is perfect. Your language is going to get better. You're going to understand Spain better and you're going to make friends. It's perfect. And it's not a super long commitment. Now it's not 3 years, right? Now potentially you could do it in maybe 4 or 5 months. We're going to try it. Maybe they say no and we need to study a little bit longer. Still a very short time commitment to learn about the place you're going to be living in, to be able to speak to the people you're going to be living with, and to make friends. And the last thing is just, it's maybe complicated. Spain is very bureaucratic, but like I said, if you just embrace that process and understand it's gonna take a while, and the forms you're gonna turn in, they're probably gonna come back and say, oh, you gotta do this, you gotta do that, and just stay calm, and especially in the US where my wife and I are both teachers, professional educators for many years now, so we're used to very prompt email replies, moving at a pace, at a speed here in the US that is way too fast. And so I'm generalizing here, but just be prepared for a little bit slower process and some bumps along the way. Don't let it get you frustrated. Keep your eye on the prize, and you can be living in Spain full time. Time to reveal my secret. Are you ready? Here we go. You will not find this information anywhere else if you are applying from the United States, you can just have one of the parents, if you're going as a family, apply for a student visa, and the other three can come as dependents. You cannot do that if you apply from within Spain. Right? We've actually been told by a few different lawyers and people who specialize in helping people immigrate to Spain, it's easier to apply from Spain. And that's what we're going to try to do. Now, because we're doing that though, it changes things a little bit. Originally, our plan was I was just going to go on a student visa. Sophie would come as my dependent and our two kids would come as my dependent as well. You can do that as long as you apply from the United States. But we're not going to do that. We're going to apply from Spain. So that means we're all four going to be students. We're all four going to be on student visas. Instead of having me on a student visa and three dependents, we're going to have four people on student visas. We think that's great. If you have children, your children need to go to school anyways. There's maybe a tiny bit of wiggle room, but for the most part, homeschooling is illegal in Spain. And online schooling is also illegal, like not an option. So they need to be in school from 6 to 16. So our kids are going to be students no matter what. Thank you for watching. We hope this has been helpful. We're going to make this work, so stay tuned.